The goats are in the garden!
Quick turn around.
Right, I'll go and get the birds done. So I'm just walking into our west field, which is our silver pasture system for our goats and tree hay production and grass hay production. If you look back right to our first vlog, vlog number 1, you'll see us talking about making this, the ideas behind it. We haven't really given you a proper update on the progress of this area. We will do a dedicated vlog for this. But right now I'm going to go up and join Rosa. She's got the goats up here in a cell at the moment. As a quick recap of how this system works before we do a dedicated vlog about it, we've got these rows of trees. You can see the mature willow behind me here with a grazing strip and another row of trees and then another grazing strip, and this is how we work it. We rotate the goats grazing in between these rows of trees with electric netting. And so at the moment the goats have been up in this cell for about a week, and we're just going to go and join them now and see what they've been doing to the place.
Pretty nice out here. So the goats have just been in this cell for about a week now, and although they haven't mown it down, I don't think they ever will mow an area down, they've made quite a bit of an impact. And so instead of moving them on to the next cell in our system straight away, we're going to move them to an area of the farm that's become very overgrown. The kitchen garden, or the old kitchen garden. It used to be where the food for the house was grown, but since we've had the market garden, we grow on such a large scale there, it's kind of gone out of use and become very overgrown. So it's got all sorts of the classic kind of docks, willow herb, thistles, but also lots of black currants and fruit bushes and things that have just become unruly and completely enveloped in all of the weeds. So we thought it might be quite fun to put the goats in there for a wee while. Fun for them, also fun for us to see the kind of impact they make. People use goats a lot to clear areas of scrub. Whether these goats will do as well as those goats, I don't know, but it'll be really nice for them to have a bit of a different diet for a while. Yeah, just get them on a different part of the farm and use the small polytunnel that's there as a kind of shelter. It will also give us an opportunity to muck out the goat byre, but that's another video.
Alright, so we're heading up to the old kitchen garden. As Rosa was saying earlier, this was a garden that was set up in the first year that we came to the farm here, and it was just an area of land that was big enough just for our sort of food needs for the house, for vegetable needs. We put up this small polytunnel, which is now very overgrown, but for several years this was our main polytunnel. It is only 20 feet long by 10 feet wide. Oh gosh, this is it folks, this is what you've not seen so far. We get lovely comments from people saying, you know, what a beautiful farm you have, love your market garden, etc. And we agree, we think we do have a beautiful farm and home and market garden, but there are places like this on the farm too that have gone crazy.
It's a bit embarrassing.
Yeah, it's a bit embarrassing, but it's okay because a farm and a permaculture design is always evolving. You know, this concept of a master plan where you go in and put it all into place and it never changes is a myth. There's always going to be areas on your small holding or your homestead that change and see neglect, and it's about looking at that and thinking, right, what can we evolve this into now? And we're no longer using this polytunnel. For the last few years it has been used as a kind of drying space. Year before last we dried our tree hay in here, so that was quite useful. So what we're thinking is that we can actually, when we put the goats in the old kitchen garden which surrounds this polytunnel, as Rosa was saying over in the field, that this can be for the goats as a shelter to get out the rain and potentially sleep in overnight. And they'll clear up this. This is hops. This is one hop plant that's growing here. Amazing growth on that. This area here, this is the track that we made to be able to drive with the BCS. You'll have seen me in different videos over the last few months coming up here on the BCS, because over this way is the Westfield goat wood, the goat byre. Our Westfield silver pasture system is this way. So the little polytunnel here and the old kitchen garden which is behind me, this sort of sits now on the side of this track. And this track here, you can see it's fenced on both sides. We've got this tall fencing behind me here, and if I spin round, we've got fencing on this side. And this was because this actually used to be a chicken run. This was the first chicken run that I built when I moved here. We had about 6 hens kind of adjoined to the kitchen garden. And so the fencing is still here for that. We've got remnants of fruit bushes here. This is black currants. We just make our way into the old kitchen garden. It's a complete jungle now. We've got lots of comfrey still growing away by itself. But I guess first things first, we need to sort of have a look at the garden here. So yeah, this was the kitchen garden from 2012 until about 2018, just last year really. The last 2 years of the life of this kitchen garden was that we were growing salads in here for the market garden. And the market garden's over this way. You can kind of just make out the polytunnel. And last year we realized we just weren't going to be using this, didn't we? You know, so we put down this tarp just to stop it going completely to weeds, so that if we felt like we needed a smaller vegetable garden again, that we could always use this. It's just, we're just thinking ahead. How can we sort of preserve all the hard work that went in over the years to creating good soils and building beds, etc. How could we preserve that and not just let it go back to a crazy weed area, which this is. I mean, when you look around the boundary where there's no black plastic, no tarpaulin, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So underneath this tarpaulin there's probably still very good soil. So in theory we could develop this as a garden anytime we wanted, but I think right now this just begs for the goats to come in.
Yeah.
And
for
give
fun,
them
if
some,
nothing else.
yeah, give them some fun. We've got some black currants over here behind these nettles. Here we go. This is a very old stand of black currants. In fact, all the black currants that we have growing in the market garden, which we're now harvesting for our veg boxes, those black currant cuttings came from these bushes. These were here when I moved into the property in 2012. The only other thing that was in this area was this this willow tree now, which is towering above Rosa there. Yeah, it was a nice garden. It was a nice kitchen garden, you know, for working with permaculture zone design. It was in our zone 1. It was closest to the back door of the house. It's south-facing. It has these large beech hedges here, which gave it great protection and good microclimate. And we used to have the ducks above. If anybody came on some of our early tours, you'll remember that we had the duck yard up there. We used to be able to pipe down water from the ducks, which had high fertility. When we moved the ducks out, we actually turned the top section of the kitchen garden into more of a forest garden. So this area here behind me, you can see with the pink flowers, that's clary sage that's flowering. This is actually a very intense little forest garden, which we can show you at another time. So we definitely don't want the goats to go in there.
So because we've got some fencing pretty much all the way around this garden right now, other than just fixing up some of the gaps and clearing some of the things away that they'll probably trash, I think we're going to be able to bring the goats in as is right now. Mandy and P don't jump over fencing, so the fact that we've got some that's a good over 4 feet high is actually all right for them. Okay, Myrtle is a concern. I feel that she'll be quite entertained in here for a while anyway, and she doesn't tend to veer too far from the other two who won't escape. So we're going to see how that goes, but we're just going to have to keep an eye on them for a while. But yeah, it's always a learning curve with Myrtle because we're not really 100% sure how to contain her, other than building 10-foot high fences. But I think that it could be fine. So we're just going to carry on this old fence from the chicken run and just use a couple of pallets to block off this gateway here, basically. Because this is a bit of an experiment for us, we're not going to do anything too permanent or anything that requires a huge amount of work for us to get it prepared, because we're not 100% sure it's going to really work for the goats. If it does work, we might even end up making this a permanent paddock for the goats, since we don't use it as a kitchen garden anymore. So it could really evolve in that direction. But as it is right now, there's no point in us changing the fencing drastically to accommodate them, because they may not be here for very long anyway.
As Rosa was saying, this might end up being a permanent paddock for the goats. And we're kind of thinking that makes good sense for a few different reasons. Proximity to the house, we can actually look out the back of our house and just check on the goats and make sure they're here. But also this old kitchen garden with the polytunnel here is actually linked very well to this part of the road, which comes through into goat wood, with the goats sort of grazing and tree hay production, which then is also linked to the back of the goat shed, to their byre. So this could easily all be sort of fenced up and links through from each system to the next for the goats to move through everything very easily into what could be an enclosed cell around the polytunnel, and using the polytunnel as a field shelter. Oh, quite a lot of work in getting this place just ready to bring the goats in. A lot of good memories here, just seeing some of the plants still surviving. We've got Jerusalem artichokes growing away here. We could be digging these up actually and having some tubers to eat. Or down this end of the garden, we've even got a small pond. So we even have this little garden pond hidden away now behind the nettles and underneath this willow tree. And this was a pond I made in about 2014 or so as a garden pond, somewhere to encourage frogs and toads to live, to be our slug predators. And the ducks used to come down and enjoy this quite a lot. So I have to make sure the goats don't fall in that. But we've also got an apple tree here. It's never actually been very good. It got a disease, started rotting quite a lot. Got a lot of dead wood. Obviously it was never buried like this, but time has buried it. I think I can see, sure I saw an apple here. Here's an apple growing on it. This was a James Grieve variety. You can definitely tell this used to be a garden, gooseberries, but I think it will make a better animal paddock right now than a garden, since we've got our work cut out for us over in the market garden. But yeah, good memories. We were no dig for the first 5 years really in this garden before we scaled up and found that it was more economical for us to use a tiller. So all the soil beneath this black silage sheet has all been no dig, so it'll be very good quality soil. But we could potentially grow a very good pasture crop in here for the goats. I mean, there's many ideas of what we could use this bit. This could be a beautiful little orchard since it's so protected, it's such a sun trap. So who knows what the future holds for a space like this, but right now the priority is just to manage it and get some sort of yield out of it rather than it just sitting here. What better way to turn all these weeds into goat food, which turns it into milk. Danger lurks from every corner. Life in your hands with permaculture.
Yeah.
We're all about bodging, folks, at the moment, as some of you might know. Like we've said in previous videos, like this is a trial, this is an experiment, so we're not going to fork out and spend lots of money on really good fencing and gates or even the time to do that. So, you know, this is all about seeing what we can find on the farm right now and just making this old kitchen garden secure for the goats. So we just banged in some posts. Rose is just hanging out. Rose has just managed to sort of find some pallets to bridge this gap so the goats can't get out here.
We need a thing.
Yeah, we need something to barricade that closed.
Yeah.
And I was just putting in a post. We're going to stretch this fencing across here, and that's it. And so our main access into the old kitchen garden will be through the polytunnel. So we'll go through the polytunnel door, and then once the goats have cleared all this incredible hops, we'll be able to get through that back door of the polytunnel and into the kitchen garden. We can also access it from the north of the kitchen garden through the forest garden. We can get in here, that's important.
Boom.
Yeah? Is that strong enough? Once
Well,
it's
once
attached.
it's on there,
yeah.
once that's attached to there.
Alright.
Okay.
Oh, watch out, he's the boss.
Oh, looking good. Pretty professional, eh? Mm-hmm.
So we've got this entrance into the old kitchen garden blocked off with some wire. Here's the door into the polytunnel, and we've got a pallet waste wood blockade here which should keep them in, I hope. And I'll just go in, and we've just got to check on the north side of this enclosure now. So we've got this, I know a lot of you out there will be looking at these fences and thinking, not going to keep goats in, and maybe you're right, but our two adults, Mandy and P, have never been able to get over fences like this. It's really just Myrtle. Yeah, so we'll be keeping an eye on Myrtle. coming up here regularly. It's just we look out our bathroom window onto this spot actually, so we should be able to see or hear if she's escaped.
I can't actually look out the bathroom window.
No, so it's my job, I guess. So should we just go and get the goats? How about if I sit here and you come to me?
Thank you.
So they're going for all the comfrey and the gooseberry, and they're going for the Jerusalem artichokes big style. That seems to be a favourite.
It's quite interesting with goats because often people use them to kind of clear land when they first get there, or when they first decide to maybe grow annuals in it to really clear all the scrub before they start maybe even using pigs and things to turn the soil over. But here, you know, it's already been cleared, but it reminds me that goats aren't just about clearing something at the beginning. You're inevitably going to have areas that become unruly while you're looking after a space or a piece of land. So goats are useful all the time, really, just to eat all your weeds and bits that you've neglected, especially when you turn it into milk.
Alright folks, well that was quite a job well done, I think.
Yeah, it's fun.
So yeah, we're always trying to find new places to get the goats to do some work, and I think we've just found one.
Yeah, definitely. They're happy and we're happy as well, especially if they manage to clear it quite well, because we'll get milk out of it and we'll have a space we can actually look around in.
So I think we're going to call it quits. The midges are just starting to come out and bite, so we're going to do our evening chores and call it a day. But I hope you've enjoyed the vlog today. As always, give it a like if you did. If you've just joined us today and you're watching for the first time, we'd love it if you could subscribe to the channel. I hope everyone's well out there in YouTube land, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
See ya.